Okay, so we're targeting the men. The men created this woman, and now this woman started abusing a bunch of kids. That's the actual cycle. It's men as abusers. They abuse little girls, and then girls grew up in these households where, like I said, it's like a crapshoot of who's going to come out of this. It's pretty bad. And it's I don't know the word for it. It's like when I'm reading this, it's like, oh, that was totally the typical normal 80s family. This is what they did to all the kids. Gee, I don't know why they're out murdering everybody now and being serial rapists. You know what I mean? Like you see the after effects like in society like right now. It wasn't, oh, they just turned like 30, 40, and 50 and just started doing all these crimes. It's totally from this. And the like I'm trying to point out like the racial stuff and all that other stuff is kind of like the after the fact thing, because this has to be present in order to then take that next step, because they're kind of like already in that mindset where they will go harm other people. So I'm trying to explain that, and I get a whole bunch of socio guys up on here like totally. I'm used to it. It's just their automatic thing is to be impulsive and talk shit. So one of the things was they were talking crap to me about me not being able to recognize myself 30 years ago. I mean, how many people could? Like, you haven't seen yourself in 30 years. So figure a person you have not seen in 30 years. It's like, what the hell did I look like then? You know what I mean? Dressed in that particular, on that day, right? And the look, because I look different from that time. So I'm pointing out human error in picking people out of photos. And I'm not the only one. There was everybody else. All the cops in that case couldn't figure out that that wasn't the guy. And I'm not even the best at recalling faces. However, when I saw the photos, I was like, oh, definitely not, like right away. And guess who thought it was him? The sister. So are we going to start trashing the sister? Like, the sister knows him. She grew up with them. That's her brother. I go, I think there's a thing in your brain where it's like, you know how you try to familiarize like what it is. So I look at a TV, I know my brain's like, oh, that's a TV. So I can see different types of TVs and some I've never seen before, but I know it's a TV. So it's kind of like, I think when you're looking at a face that you're like, do I know him? And like automatically it reminds her of her brother. Oh, that's my brother. And it's hard to, get that out of your head, because when I'm looking at him, he actually looks like two different sociopaths. And I go, how weird is that? Like, almost to the point where I'm like, did he have a separate life somewhere else and like play pretend this family thing on one of them? I was like actually thinking that, because there's just traits in the face. Like I was talking about some of these things that I'm picking up. No, they're totally three different people actually, because it's like two that I'm thinking, and then there's the guy that we're looking at. And I'm like, that's interesting. It's interesting. They should do a test on it. It's just interesting. It's like a different thing. So no, it's just a human error. It's your brain trying to, come up with who you think it is. And the most familiar is that's her brother. And they thought it was her brother. And I think the friend thought that too. And the neighbor did. They were like, oh no, for sure. And I'm over here looking at the photo and I'm like, huh? I was like, they look like they have similarities, right? Like, I'm not even knocking that, because they had similarities and they were talking about these different things. But the face, he didn't have that Joker smile. He just didn't, guys. He just, that wasn't him. I was like, oh, that's interesting. No, but I knew right away. And so anyway, they did all that stuff. Okay, so I don't know who this lady is. I guess she had a YouTube channel, but like I said, YouTube promotes male supremacists and abuse. So, you know what I mean? These are the channels that are probably all the big channels. Like, I just went to a channel yesterday, and I think it's so funny. I get the most targeted, and yet this guy is like spreading like weird alt-right weird stuff. I don't know. It's weird stuff. And I'm like, and the dude's like got like 200K followers. And I'm like, see, but that's society. Society's the sociopath. It's not the other way around. So, and it reflects in the popularity, actually. That's why I said, I go, if I started doing a channel saying women are such garbage and, run over people, just being a straight sociopath character. Totally. I would be the most popular thing up on here. Women asked to be raped. They're all trash and abusers and everything else, and they're just a bunch of liars. Oh my God, I would be so popular. I beat my kids still. I believe in very strict home parenting. I can't understand, like, why my kids shot up a school. This shit. So here's another example of somebody that's going to create some kids that are pedophiles and might shoot up a school. This is really bad. This is another Duggar family. I'm assuming they're Mormon because they live in Utah, but it doesn't say, but I'm going to assume that. Maybe I shouldn't assume that, but it sounds something like that. Okay, Ruby Franke, the Utah mom behind the now defunct family YouTube channel. Don't you love a family YouTube channel? It's all about beating up your kids. I don't even have kids, and I'm giving the best parenting advice. But you know what? But just so people know, like, I'm not going to say like I'm the most perfect person ever. Like, I was thinking about, when I was around the other girl and stuff, I was like, God, I shouldn't have like taught like that low carb shit. I was like thinking like, how you make these mistakes. I was like, I don't want to I thought I was being good and healthy, like not getting somebody an ED or something. But yeah, I mean, people make mistakes like that. That's not what we're knocking. We know that people are human and they make mistakes in some parenting. But this type of parenting right here is just straight out, flat out abuse. Okay. So it's not like an accidental mistake. I shouldn't have told my kid this, growing up. Like I know parents have this because like I'm having that issue too, going, maybe I shouldn't, you know, but whatever. But yeah, I started off babysitting kids when I was really little, and then I rescued them. I feel like I'm probably best in the world of giving advice on that, and then you know talking about how bad it was, like me as the kid, like that's where the real deal is, right? Because we were all kids, and then you remember like all these abuses, and then you start analyzing like what they did to you. Like I think that's like, how else are you going to get the best advice from that? Not from some person just sitting there and watching, somebody parenting and saying, it's like you're looking at it going, what effects did that have on me? It's really bad. So that's what I'm saying. I go, yep, when that was done to me, this came out of it, such as the food thing, which actually is in this story, and it gave me an eating disorder, which was wonderful. But we'll get to it. We'll get to it. So it was arrested Wednesday on child abuse charges. Authorities found a malnourished minor with open wounds and duct tape on their extremities. Ah, we all duct tape our kids. Come on. They all thought this was funny, mostly men. So I don't know what her mother did to her. Somebody or dad, somebody did this and this is her normal, okay? Like they don't just typically just come out like that. So it's something where like when they were kids, it happened to them. And I can almost say for sure that happened to them because it was so normal in the 80s. I don't know how old they are, but we'll go down. Maybe we'll say something. Frankie's business partner, Jodi, was also arrested on the same charges. They regularly collaborate on relationship and parenting advice. Were they together or what? I don't know. I should look at this. The videos of Hildebrandt Life Counseling Service Connections has been criticized in the past for its teaching about parenting, including prioritizing and organization principles of truth over a person's child. I don't know what psychotic bullshit this is at all. It's weird. The Santa Clara Islands Public Safety Department said in a press conference Thursday it received a report about a juvenile in need of help at 10:50 a.m. Wednesday morning. The juvenile was described as emaciated and malnourished with open wounds and duct tape around their extremities. The condition of the juvenile was so severe that they were seen by Santa Clara Islands EMS and transported to a local area hospital. Evidence led officers to a nearby home where another juvenile was found in similar condition and taken to a local hospital for treatment, the release said. So none of the neighbors pay attention to this or what? See, these are the kids I would come in and I go save, right? That's, and then they're all dangerous like these women or parents or whoever. 4 minors were taken into the care of the Department of Child and Family Services following a service of a home where the emaciated juveniles were found. I mean, these cases, they have to be pretty extreme, like where it's like, it's not a thing where like, the family needs some counseling and all this stuff. Like these cases, like I said, like the ones like had to deal with, there was drugs all in the carpet and pills everywhere, and the dad's leaving, and there was just like a 5 and 6 year old alone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and he was lying to the mom, I assume. I really don't know, but I think he went out to do a drug thing or something. And and I'm at the house, so it's like I can't really leave now because I am kind of responsible now, and there's nobody here, and I don't know why this is going on. And then he's all psychotic and running around with a knife. Like there was a whole thing to it. It was like you couldn't just like, what was the other one? Oh yeah, they were criminals on the run and using their kids in car crashes. Yeah, I mean, there's some really bad things out here. So it's like, okay, so Frankie and Hildebrandt, are they a couple? Like okay, and then arrested in connection with the incident. The release said the two are still in custody, according to Washington County Sheriff's Department. Representatives for Frankie and Hildebrandt, whatever, did not immediately respond to NBC News for comment. So then they said, okay, and the Washington County Department also did not comment. Okay. Frankie rose prominence in 2015 through the 8 Passengers YouTube channel, which featured her husband, Kevin. Oh, no, her husband. Where's he? Where's Kevin? I was like, where's Kevin? Okay, Kevin and 6 children. Yeah, it's another Duggar story, these religious type of people, I'm assuming, because that's kind of where this is going. The channel had a following of nearly 2.3 million subscribers. Beat your kids and treat them like shit, and you're going to get a shitload of followers because you're touching on that Christian fundamentalism or Mormon. I don't know what the hell. I never heard of these people. Before it was taken down earlier this year, it's unclear why the channel was removed from YouTube. The Frank's strict parenting style has led some viewers to report them to authorities. In June 2020, some viewers called local child protective services on the parents after their then 15-year-old son, Chad, said in a video that he had slept on a beanbag for 7 months. Dude, he's all 15. See, this is another thing. I was saying that some of these parents were still like spanking their kids as a teen, and it's like sexual abuse, like basically. And like he's all 15. So the parent is treating, like, what you want to do, you want to start treating them like a young adult, really, but they're still kids. But doing this, like you're having a 15-year-old sleep on a beanbag, you know what I mean? Like this is all kind of whack. And then, dude, that was my 10th grade. So Ruby Frank told the outlet at the time that the sleeping arrangement was Chad's choice after being removed from his shared room with his younger brother for behavioral issues. Oh, it was his choice. Like, he wants to sleep on a beanbag. So Ruby Frank had also faced backlash for videos in which she refused to bring her 6-year-old lunch after a child forgot to pack food and threatened to throw away her children's prized possessions. Oh, yeah, and that reminded me, I was like, yeah, I had those threats too. So, yeah, somehow it's like, if you don't behave, we're gonna get rid of everything that you love. Yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, so this is like actually parenting from the baby boomer era, and probably before that. So it was, so because they did it to us, to Generation X, she might be a Generation X parent, if not, older millennial. I'm not sure, but yeah, because they did it to us in Generation X. This is what I can tell you for sure. And so it means that the baby boomers got it and silent generation, because I had both parents from both generations. So we both did that. Um, and then that was the normal thing. Yeah, that was how they did it. So if you're bad, then you don't eat, right? So if you don't want to eat, let's say you hate pork like I did when I was a kid, then if you don't eat it, then they tell you you can't eat at all. Like it's a all or nothing thing. So, and then it means that I'm undeserving and I should be grateful to be getting any food. This is the verbal shit that came with it. And I was horrified by the pig thing because I had a closeness with the story Wilbur. Like the pig was real. Like, you know what I mean? It's a pet. Like it was humanized, to us as kids and stories. And my parents want to go with these luau's with the full body pig, and it was so horrifying to me. I'm like, you're killing Wilbur, And then they wanted to have pork, and I didn't want it. Like, I don't know. There was a thing about it. And I go, I can't eat it, man. And they're like, you better eat it. And if you don't, you're not eating. So then I was starving. I was starving that night too. I was like, probably from just being active all day and I did some sports stuff. I don't know. But then they're like, no, you can't eat it. So then it caused this thing where at nighttime, then I would go into the kitchen and then just start hoarding food. Because you would, because you're scared they're going to do that. You need to eat. So yeah, and then on top of that, the grandma thing with the eating thing, and yeah, eating disorder city. They caused it. It wasn't me going, oh, I want to be really thin. No, it was those two idiots, mainly his mom, but then that was the addition, and then it caused a thing like to overeat. Like that was the first part of it. Okay, the overeat, because now I'm scared and I'm doing it as and this would be like for survival, right? So then that started happening, and then yeah, this is so horrifically bad, and it doesn't even make sense. Like kids forget things sometimes, right? So it's like, um, how hard is it to go drive to the school and drop off lunch, or even drop off money for the kid for lunch so they could go buy the school lunch or whatever. Work something out like that's just instead it's like you're being punished for being a human, right? We all make mistakes, we all forget things, we all do these things. So this is their military parenting, right? The eldest daughter, Shari, 20, posted about her mother's arrest to her Instagram story Wednesday. Shari, who was previously posted that she was not in contact with her immediate family, and shared an image with police officers with the caption, finally. Yeah, so she must have been massively abusive to her. And Jodi Franke wrote, hi, all today has been a big day. Me and my family are so glad justice is being served. We've been trying to tell the police and CPS for years about this, and so glad they finally decided to step up. Why did it take years? CPS is an asshole, dude. They like fucking outed me on that one with the guy with the knife, dude. That shit was like crazy. And then there was times that I'm like, I mean, I didn't make the call on the other people, but I was like, dude, there's like a drunk guy living in the back, and like seriously, he's in question with his actions, and the mom is the one that brought him there. So I don't know why you have this guy around this kid, but I wasn't part of the call on that one. And then they came in, the place was not great, and they were fine with it. I'm like, well, that's all I can say. You know what I mean? I can't make him do anything. And I didn't call. It wasn't me that called. So I was like, because I already know how CPS is. CPS wants to see bruises. CPS wants to know that you've seen an action happen that's physically harmful to the child, right? So then the teacher thought one of the bruises was maybe from her getting beat up. I was like, oh, hell no, I would beat up her mom if I started seeing that shit. I was like, no, it's more mental abuse than it is anything else. And they don't care about that. That's the thing that they didn't care about at the time. So I was like, well, what can I say? Like, there's nothing I could do. I already know CPS. That's their thing. They don't give a shit. Like, it has to be really in a physical way, mainly. Um, but they can let the kids live in squalor. And that's kind of a fine line because some people are poor, right? So you don't want to go taking kids away from like homeless people or, you know what I mean? Because they're not technically, like, they may not technically be being abused in that situation. But here, it's like, no, they had money to go do all this shit. They're being abusive. Like, it's, you got to gauge it on per, situation. We're not going to buy you a bed. It's like totally abusive, right? Because they have the money to do it. It's just they don't do it. But then you don't want to arrest people that can't afford to buy a kid a bed. You know what I mean? So it's so hard it's really hard to get those people. Like it is, like there's a difference. Like you don't want to start taking kids away because somebody's poor, but they're like in this case here, you see the mental thing to it. Look, we got our big bedroom and our king size bed, and you're just a piece of shit. And we're gonna make you sleep on the floor. Yeah, that like, but they're not going after that thing right there. Okay, so then they go, the kids are safe, but there's a long road ahead. Please keep them in your prayers and respect their privacy. Why am I going to pray? They got abused because of your prayers. I mean, because of the prayers. The whole thing about it. It's like people are just oblivious. Like we don't understand really why, she's that evil. Well, we can explain this. I was like, she also posted a request to her followers to share any questionable or concerns, connections, or 8 passenger videos with her on Thursday. Oh yeah, to show this abuse is probably so. Wait, okay, so 3 women who say they are Ruby Franke's sisters, who are also family influencers, shared a joint Instagram post saying her arrest needed to happen. For the past 3 years, we've kept quiet on the subject of our sister Ruby Franke for the sake of her children. Why? Children need to know that they're being abused. Like that's totally number one. There's children today are getting so much more education. Like they can actually verbalize like I have anxiety, I have depression. Kids back in our time couldn't say, we didn't know what the hell. They would say something like, "Oh, are you feeling sad?" Like some bullshit like that. And kids didn't know what the hell anxiety was. They didn't know anything. So when they're like, oh, is that your imaginary friend? Are you schizophrenic? Like, they didn't know they didn't verbalize any of that stuff. So today, like, kids are getting more educated on that, which is good because that's what I'm saying. I go, the more educated they are, mostly for the sociopath thing, that you can get them hopefully maybe if you can get it as soon as possible that then they don't come out as the trashy adults that men are right now, right? So that's the thing. It's just the education part and catching it early and then dealing with it right there. But kids have to know what it is. Like I said, they didn't tell kids what kidnapping is. It's like crazy. We're not going to even use the word rape. Kids shouldn't hear that word rape. Even though we rape them, we can't tell them that it's called rape because we need to be able to rape them. Yeah, that should. Yeah, so that's what they were doing. So then it's like for some reason they didn't want to say anything. This is just stupid. I'm tired of these women. Behind the public scene, we've done everything we could to try and make sure the kids were safe. Well, somebody didn't, so I don't. I mean, how does a kid get emaciated like that and tied up and crap for a while without anybody figuring, you know what I mean? Like, that, you have to be in the home. So if another kid, like, I don't know, maybe one of the older kids of the 15-year-old, if he knew to call and say this and this happened, I don't know. Maybe it's the law enforcement there and everybody is the only one to blame for it. Maybe that's it. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised because they're all trashy anyway. So did not immediately respond. Utah aggravated child abuse is defined as an act that inflicts upon a child serious physical injury or causes or permits another to inflict serious physical injury upon a child. Okay, where's the husbands though? Did I miss something? Where's her husband? Or shouldn't her husband be arrested too? Are they not together anymore? Like, what did the comments say? Because I'm like lost. I didn't watch this bullshit. You're calling her a whore, and you're no better than her being an abuser, so F off. This is a way for male supremacists to come in here and start abusing women. So, yeah, their mom must have spanked him too hard. Okay, so this woman is a hideous monster, and so is her husband. Yeah, what's the thing with their husband? There's no way the husband was not in on this. Yeah, they were both doing it. And it's probably like his idea. I was like, militarize the kids. Okay, wait. I don't know what sickens me more. What she's accused of or that people made her channel famous. Yeah, no, no. Yes. And made her rich off mistreating her kids. Anyone who regularly visits her videos should be ashamed of themselves making her rich. That's the entire YouTube. It heavily leans on this sociopath society. That's what I said. I go, in order to change that, they have to actually go against that. Like, to not target us, the ones that are educating and talking about all these predators here, and these abusers, um, because I'm not going to be popular. Do you think I would be popular? No. I'm not going to be popular. I already know I'm not going to be popular. Because society as a whole is a mental illness, okay? So when I'm speaking towards this mass group of hella F ups, um, all they want to do is come and target me off every platform, right? So do I sound like I'm saying anything insane? No. They want to make it seem that way, but there's nothing that I've said that isn't backed up by something, such as the what was the last one? Okay, so I was talking about possibly the police were throwing a GPS underneath my car in the 90s, and now finally, after I did this other post on what pieces of crap they are, and now we know who to eliminate. And we're talking about these gang members and this other stuff. I go, yeah, when you remember the units that they had were extraordinarily corrupt. So those were the gang members actually in law enforcement, right? And so people, mostly these big time Christian conservative pieces of crap, will sit there and go, she's just making fun because, yeah, this crap, right? And all of a sudden, just a couple days, when did I post that? It was like last week or so or something. And all of a sudden, they have this mass investigation saying that one of their gang units is being corrupt, and they are throwing Apple tag things in the back of their car so they could track them illegally. I go, see, I told you. I go, they did that shit. Because as I go through cases, also another thing you're going to notice, there was a paranoia of government surveillance, right? And unfortunately, there's a level of that that's not even true. Okay, we wish there was, actually, because it could be helpful in these cases, right? What they were doing, though, the phone thing, definitely they did that. But to me, it's a good thing in a sense where I'm like, I'm saying a story. I cannot manipulate the phone trail, okay? That's a good thing. So I wouldn't say a story that couldn't be backed up by the phone trail, because I already know FBI and all them gather that shit, right? So if I were to make up something like that, I'm gonna get in trouble, dude. They're gonna try to throw me in prison. Like, you're making shit up. You know. You know what I mean? Like, I do have a fear, it's like, because they could still make shit up on me. So anyway, I was saying that, but I knew that much. And I knew some places had video cameras, and, but how much, right? I didn't know. Like, you don't know what government's doing. But when I'm going through the cases, they can't find certain people because they actually didn't have the cams everywhere where people thought. And I was like, yeah, like, they're not as sophisticated as they were. I think they like that mystery to make them sound like they know more than they do, and they don't. However, they need to explain how come they can't find this guy that's missing for 20 years. Yet, government was able to find me several times in a day. And for years, they would just follow me around. I'm like, how is that going on? Unless you did something illegal, because they did not have GPS then. They didn't have all this shit. They didn't have cell phone things like that. I did have a cell phone though in the 97 portion of it when I was in Nevada, but it was one of those prepaid ones, and it would still ping off something. I mean, it would still do something. So yeah, I mean, I did actually on the trip. I remember that much, but I didn't want to use it, I think, so much because I had to pay a lot for the usage of it. That was way back in the day. And so in between that period of time of like the 90s, the late 90s or so, beyond car cell phones, right? The car cell phones were more expensive and stuff. My dad had one, my brother had one, and they wouldn't allow me to have one. Isn't that funny? Only my brother and my dad could have a car cell phone, and I wasn't allowed to, and I'm the one that's always a victim of rape. I mean, what the fuck, right? Can you question that? So yeah, so they dumped me out here without a cell phone in my car, and there was so much bad in that. So yeah, mainly people would use a payphone and collect call people if they don't have money, right? So then, yeah, so they could even track the, I believe the payphone stuff, back then. Yeah. So then also, yeah, so video surveillance was not as big as people thought. And even at ATMs, I guess, like most of them had them, I believe, but it kind of rolled in at a time. So everything wasn't as secure as you would think. Like maybe what you assumed is kind of interesting. It's just government being like, yeah, we're watching all of y'all. Oh, whoops, we can't find anybody. Yeah. Oh, now today, the interesting thing that they could do is the what is it called? The satellite thing. So like let's just say you wanted to bury someone in your yard. Good luck with that. So people used to think like nobody can see me, nobody's gonna know shit, blah blah blah. So then they have a satellite thing, right? So they can actually go back and forth and see like when there was a hole there and when there wasn't. So you're gonna be screwed today. But they didn't have any of that back in the day. So, you know, if you think you're going to get away with that type of crap, yeah, they can kind of zoom in on that type of thing today. Versus, you know, there shouldn't be another episode of Buried in the Backyard because they could satellite your house and, you know, they could look for that stuff if they know where to look. So, I have to learn from the comments. Like, what the hell? It says, so she's so naturally guilty looking and awkward looking. They took a screenshot of one of her Instagram videos and put it on the article as if it's a mugshot. And I thought it was. Ha ha ha. She's evil. She suffers heavily. Literally, she made millions for her mistreatment of kids, and she isn't feeding them? Psychopath. Well, she's actually a sociopath. Luckily, I mean, she's close to being a killer. She's just an abuser, and luckily, she's not like the last story we did, where she murders her kids, but she might. She's very capable. She looks very stone cold, you're right. Unfeeling eyes. Very, interesting. Let me zoom in here. I say they have these strange characteristics, man. Like, it's like, they just have no soul, dude. Like something in them because the parents were very abusive to her. We should ask the sisters like what the hell like what are you guys missing here? Because something happened to her to do this like as a kid. Like either you guys had an extraordinarily strict dad and something happened, something, right? And I can't answer it. Um I don't. And they play well together. I told you the pal. Like as long okay, so these ASPD son of a bitches, they get along well as long as the other person is as effed up as them, right? Like who's the instigator? You know, the controller, the Trump, right? You know, the Trump went her, right? And then her friend is like when you look at the mass shooters, like the main guy that was, you know, 17 or whatever they were calling him, a psychopath, and then his friend is like this depressive type, you know, he's probably also a sociopath, but not on the same scale, and they get along fine, right? It's like this right here. They're fine as long as they find somebody that has their same illness, or can relate and be just as like, we don't care about humans, that thing. Yeah, they're very social. In fact, they'll get millions of followers that love them. Yeah, it's crazy. They're the social norm. If I was the social norm on the same side of things, then this would all be in reverse, because there wouldn't be anything that I'm saying that isn't upsetting the people that want to be abusers. So, I mean, for them to go and report it like a million times, they're not even mad at the cops or CPS. I mean, they should be, and also questioning why that was occurring. And so those are the people you want to be angry with, but you have to understand why they were being that way. Like, what they're seeing something as okay. Police and CPS have been notified for years and the calls for help were ignored. Not surprising, considering the police and CPS, for the most part, are controlled by the devil. No. Who did I say the devil is on my last clip? Like, the devil is called a personality disorder called sociopath, ASPD. Some people call it psychopath. Um, I don't think the word psychopath would necessarily be proper usage. The socio ASPD, what you're talking about is criminally minded, harm to self and others. Screw the social norm thing, because they are the social norm. They are emotional. Some are more cold and calculated, and some are just more impulsive, or they can be both. And typically that comes about because of abuse, right? At some point. So something happened in their childhood that was deemed okay, and yeah. But like I said, most of the stuff that they're saying wasn't abnormal in the 80s. In the 80s, it was so normalized to abuse your children. It was so normalized that we just sat there watching it. And I mean, I'm just thinking about it now, and I'm like horrified actually on some of this other stuff. And I didn't like it then. Like, I was trying to fight my parents. Like, it's funny because I was like, don't you ever touch me, you assholes, you know? I was like, they start chasing me, and I'm like smarter than them. So that's good. Luckily, I was smarter than them, because otherwise, I'd be that kid that just like walks in there and goes, okay, hit me. It's like, that's not me. I was like, no way. I'll run out in front of the yard and let the neighbors know, and you're going to get busted. Totally. And we had the house to be able to run away from them. That was the other thing. We had this huge house where it was just like all the rooms are in a circle around the house. It's like the front room, then you go up a stair, and then it's like a living room, and then you go around the corner, and then there's a long hallway, and in between the living room and the hall, there's another bedroom. So it had doors on both sides. And then you go to the back, there's my bedroom in the center. And so there's doors on both sides, right? One on each side. And then my parents' room was way in the back on its own. And then my brother's was in the far back of the house. So if I want to run away from anybody, I had a lot of ways. I could run in a circle 8. I could run, you know what I mean? It was wonderful. So it was easy to get away from them. Is how many warnings the Child Protective Service had and did nothing. Yeah, we did family counseling for my oldest time management issues and nothing major. In week 2, the therapist saw dog scratches on her forearm and didn't ask her where they came from, just called the police on us. What the fuck? We had to have all these people come over to our house to interview everyone, talk to my family members, and if they saw abuse, then talk to the police down the station. It was insane. We just got a rescue dog, and she didn't even know how to play calmly yet. The police apologized and said the guy calls the police a lot, but they have to make sure every time. Yet, for this family, the repeated calls did absolutely nothing. No home visit, even. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm surprised they called on dog scratches though. But hey, the teacher called on the bruise thing. I don't even blame the teacher on the thing that happened over here. Cause I was like, that's actually good, just in case. No, I was just more shocked that the CPS didn't care about the other crap. That was the thing about it. I was like, no, she's not getting beat. Because I'll take this mom out, dude. I was like, no, no. And I asked her though too. I was like, did she ever do that? Like, because kids don't want to say shit. And no, but I never seen. No, in my view, and it was kind of hard to hide me being there. No, I never seen her get physically violent. Like she wasn't like that type of person. Like she wasn't like a physically violent, like mom like that. She was more on the verbally abusive scale, like being kind of like, you know, being gay is bad, some bullshit. Like, I don't know. It's just on a different level of things. Like, it wasn't, it's hard to explain, dude. Like they got mad at her for wanting to hang out with me. Like, so now they're getting jealous and they start being passive aggressive to her. And then they just left us alone and took off. And I was all scared. I was like, where did your parents go? Now I'm stuck with a kid, right? And I'm like, they're lucky I'm a trustworthy person, because what the fuck? And she doesn't, she's just like, man, this damn, they got problems. Like, she knows they have problems. And I'm just like, thank you. Like, they put the responsibility on me like that. And because they wanted to do something and she didn't want to do it. It was so crazy. They're like, we want to go on this one thing at like the amusement park. And they're already jealous, I think, and mad because I bought like the tickets for her birthday, because they wouldn't do shit. That's the thing. Like, they didn't really celebrate a birthday. And I was like, I feel so bad for this kid, man. Like, I had such a better, like, my parents were shitty, okay, but I got to do things, okay, like kids do. And they were not doing that for her. And so I felt like I needed to do something good. And so I constantly had this feeling like, God, she needs to experience something good in life at least like one time. Like there was this thing about it that was constantly driving me with this thing. And because she'd never had it, like they're so selfish. And yeah, so then they got passive aggressive. And then so, she gets hurt, right? It emotionally messes with her. And then we went back to our house and to my condo, and they didn't want to come inside. They're like, you could take her with you to go up there. I'm like, what the fuck? Yeah, they were doing that. And so to tell CPS that, it's like they don't want to consider that abuse or something, And it's hard to explain too. It's like a very it's just emotional abuse. And so it's not like, well, she said they later chewed her out though. Because when we were at the amusement place, we all took pictures together. They didn't want to be a part of it. They were doing oh my God. Anyway, so she borrowed the boyfriend's coat, right? That's not even her stepdad. Okay, so she borrowed the boyfriend's coat. That's not her stepdad. Yeah, they didn't get married, did they? No, I don't think so. Well, maybe, I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, that guy. And so she borrows the coat and we take photos together, and she takes the coat off when we took the photos. And so then we all left, right? Nobody even thought about the coat, right? Not even him, not the dad. That's his job because she's a kid. Okay, she's a fucking kid. So she forgets the coat, okay? So then they realize the coat was left. They start chewing her out, and they're not going to go back to get it or anything. Like, this is the most horrible thing that could ever happen in the universe. So she relays it to me later. So I didn't get to visually see that. But yeah, so I started getting these relayed messages. I'm like, holy shit, dude. They didn't act like that in front of me at the house when I lived with them for a little while. No. So they were starting to do that shit. I was like, that's unreal. Like, I could see, like, being disappointed that the kid did that, but it was just stupid. You know what I mean? It was really dumb. It wasn't an expensive coat. It was just a stupid ass coat. They don't care about anything you give them. Because I given them gifts, you guys. I bought them stuff, and they don't even care about it, and they just toss it. I'm like, dude, you guys are shitty as hell. Like, they're those type of people. What will they do if the child does something that the parent deems to be a worse infraction? Physical, mental, verbal, and other abuses to a loved one only indicates a bent towards inadequacy. This woman must be mentally ill to purposely hurt children. Okay, okay, I'm gonna say this. It's not mental illness most of the time. I'm gonna say this. It's a PD. That's why I want to keep saying, because the PD is different than being like having say schizophrenia or some other mental illness. They cause mental illness. So as you'll see, they cause like depression, anxiety, those things. Those things don't cause you to go beat up children. Depression? Where does depression cause you to go beat up some kids? Depression would get you to go do whatever you want, kids. Leave me alone. I mean, it's just like, um, unless you're that what was it? The angry depressive. Yeah, I don't know, but that's actually part of the sociopath thing. But the anxiety, no anxiety, um, not necessarily anxiety. No, like I had massive anxiety the whole time, so no, it wasn't. I never yelled at the kids or any. No, my life I've ever yelled at a kid ever. No. And is obviously unfit to care for children. I'm also assuming that religion is somehow involved with this behavior. Yes, you're starting to get there. That's why I've been doing those massively long clips, which makes it even worse for a parent to use the Bible to justly justify such behavior. Yeah, the Bible's written at a really horrible time in history. They had no therapy, nothing. There were a bunch of sociopaths. They were enslaving people, raping people. You know what I mean? Like the whole thing. Like they didn't know what the outcome would be from beating some kid up or something. And indoctrinating this garbage and creating monsters, right? So I'm laying it out as to why that was occurring, because there's a lot of stories coming up right now, like just from the past. Like it's like people going, you abused us and killed Indian children, and you have that going on, right? And there's actually an explanation for like the entire thing, right? Like you have to sit with it. It was not an easy conclusion. It wasn't, because the silence on it and people not realizing what's abuse and what's not. And you just have to really sit with this and understand the personality disorder. Because another thing that was an indicator is that people were saying stop calling them mentally ill when they would go out and do these shootings or doing these other incidents. And I go, yeah, you're probably right. What is it though? It's not a sane person, right? So I was like, mental illness, mental illness. I go, oh, personality disorder. Okay, yeah. So personality disorder is different from a mental illness. And I try to keep it separated because to me, it is really different. Because it's somebody all it is like the way how they think, and the lack of the humanity that they have, like just uh dehumanizing people. Like it's a thing that you're supposed to develop growing up, and then they didn't get it, so it's not something they can fix later. And then it's not like they don't know right and wrong. It's not that they're acting out because some chemically imbalanced thing is going on in their brain and they don't know what they're doing at the moment. No, it's just it's all selfish. They have a major ego, and imagine being this socio abuser, and then you get like 2 million followers that's just feeding into your ego. And then that's all they want. They like the attention. And then while they're just abusing their kids, right? And they're like, we're going to teach you how to teach your kids to be perfect kids, and they're all like beating the hell out of them, starving them. Like it's those people. Like that's their mindset. It's crazy. But luckily, she's not a serial killer, but she could be. I mean, if you let it go enough, she might kill him, and then she'll be like that other lady going, I didn't mean to kill them. It was accidental that I murdered these kids. It's like, does this sound like an accident? It's not an accident because originally they just had a thing in their mind how they're mad at them. They hate them. Like there's an anger there, right? Like you wouldn't go abuse somebody unless you had some sort of vindictive thing underneath it all. Like 3 years we've kept quiet on the subject of her sister for the sake of the children. Are you kidding me? All three of her sisters need to be arrested as well. I totally agree. It's such an admission of guilt. Yeah, my thing with these people is they're all this. These are the people I deal with all the time, and I literally, I have no, I was like, what's the word? I have no patience for them, and they just get an auto called idiot. So that's just the thing about it, because it's just like, if I go tell you somebody's a goddamn rapist, you don't go cover it up, okay? So it's like those are kind of the ladies that are like, yeah, we're gonna keep it from the kids. It's like, dude, the kids are the ones getting abused. The kids should know that they're being abused. The kids should be able to verbalize they're being abused, and the kids should be able to go run to a payphone or to. I mean, do we have payphones anymore? Use a phone to call, for help, because they wanted to make, I'm 1,000% sure they wanted to make sure none of us called on our parents as kids. Because at no point in time do anybody say, are your parents abusing you? You should call 911. Do you know how to do that? No. Okay, so yeah, I'm 1,000% sure that's why they kept all the kids dumb. So they wouldn't cry out for help, to be able to say, like, oh, you know. Because even then, even if I did, they'd probably be like, oh, these kids just don't want to mind. And you're going to get in trouble if you do that again, kid. Like, I could totally see that happening in our childhood. You need a license to drive a car, go fishing, start a business, etc. But any moron can have a kid. Well, you force them, right? Didn't you guys just make some laws that you have to force women to pop out some babies, you sickos? That's part of this problem too, by the way. Influencer, lazy, uneducated people with a cell phone. That's not true. That it's a job. It's a job. Okay, the sister kept quiet for 3 years to help the kids. Well, looks like that didn't work out. They should be arrested too. I guess they didn't want to jeopardize their status of influencers either. Shaking my head. Yeah, I mean, there's something kind of weird with that, but it could be. I mean, while I don't know what they did here, it is a possibility that the cops were like, meh. And like literally, what can you do? Like I've sat back with this shit all the time, and it's not me. It's the law enforcement. It's the CPS. It's the FBI's. It's the DOJ's. It's all those people. They're the one. It stops right there. Like you could only do so much. And then at that point, it's like there are a bunch of male supremacists that abuse everyone, right? So they're like, yeah, I don't really look at that as being that bad, okay? I was starved as a kid too, so, you know, totally. Honest to God, that's how they are. I can't believe the disgustful excuse the parents had at 2.3 million followers. Maybe they took it off because all their millions of followers were calling on them. You know what I mean? They're like, we're gonna get in trouble, dude. We gotta take this down. Yeah, I don't even have like 1% of that, and people come at me. So, oh my God. It would be, I would be getting taken off like every other day, me fighting it back and forth. I couldn't even imagine with 2 point that many people, because it's so bad just that way down here, okay? So I was like that, yeah, it is. Them trying to remove me from my work things, and yeah, no. It was probably like that. They're like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I don't know if Mike is being funny like for the sake of LGBTQ strikes again, like saying like it's not them, it's the Christians, or I don't know their background. That's the thing. Let me see. The Mormon Church continues the legends, right? I mean, it's basically close enough to the same. The church is being investigated for failure to report sexual abuses. Yeah, well, okay. Now can you see why though? Because I've totally laid this out. I was like, I've totally laid this out. They're creating the monsters, right? They're okaying it. Then they'll go in full denial about it and blame the victim, which is such a sociopath thing to do, right? So their cover-ups are done in a way how they shelf it. Like I'm talking about the shelving in their brains, where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna ignore it," and then when they do find out about it, then they did what like the Duggars did, right? We're gonna like totally lock up the girls, dude, and let him run free. Like this is like America as a whole. We're gonna like lock up all the girls and then let all the sociopath rapist men run free. Like that's what they did. They're like, women need to stay inside, but we get to go out, okay? Okay, ladies? Okay, ladies? Yeah. Yes. Just even coming up with that thought is from a sociopath. Yes. Ladies. Yeah, but they're not different. They're not much different from Christians, Mormons, and them. No. We got along well. Growing up, yeah. But I like how Christians like feel this is a sociopath thing to do too. Like they feel they feel powerful targeting Mormons like over themselves. And there's really nothing really different among them other than a few things that they believe in that's different. But yeah, it's like another way they're like trying to show dominance or like, look, ours is better. Yeah, this bullshit's going on, but they're exactly the same, really, like fundamentally when you're looking at how they view things. They don't run the country. They may run Utah and some of Idaho. I don't know. That's why I think it's so funny. They're like, oh, there's cities where it's just like the entire cops are Mormons and there's like no way to escape it. And I'm like, yeah, the rest of America is all a bunch of Christian cultists and there's no way you can escape it. I mean, if I want to escape it, then I can go run to Utah. But then I'm going to get the same bullshit anyway. Like I said, look at who the top YouTubers are. They're a bunch of male supremacists. They're a bunch of men. White men. There's a reason for that. Utah, enough said. Well, it's America, actually, enough said. What is wrong with these people? She's being a normal mom from the 1980s. I was like, to be honest, dead serious. She's being a normal mom from the baby boomer from 1980. That's how come we got mass shootings started. Even be more fair on that. The mass shootings were starting, actually, probably before that, I did find some cases of it in the 80s. So it was almost like the ball was rolling. And we already had the ball rolling with the serial killers, okay? Like, big time. Okay, so that was the first half of that, right? So it was the progression of. And prior to that, it was, mass killings and, people of color and, the Indian school things. You could go back in the history and actually see like this sociopath killing progression thing. And that's why I said don't get stuck particularly on the groups of people that they're doing it to, but more or less like the fact that humans are doing that just generally because it takes a certain someone to do this stuff. So you're looking at this like massive cycle of things going on, like the Wild West where they're shooting up everybody and and then just this cycle where they're just killing people, like this thing, right? And then it goes into, the mass serial killer thing. Then it goes into this mass shooting thing and it's going to keep cycling and it'll cycle into something else. And you don't want that something else because it's kind of, it's almost, I don't know if I would say it's getting worse, like the thing itself is getting worse, but due to technology and, I don't know, some things about it that it could be worse. It just depends how you want to view it. I think lynching was a pretty damn bad thing. So those are a bunch of sociopaths, right? So like those people were totally fine with harming other humans like that. So you're looking at that, and it's not necessarily just even from, it's not necessarily from racism, because you could be racist and not go and have a murder fest, right? So, but the racism itself dehumanizes a group of people, which makes it very easy to go do something like that, right? So that's why I was like kind of pulling this out, because I was like, it wasn't just on them. I mean, it didn't even get to that point without them already, abusing women. So you're gonna see a lot of abusers from all groups of people, right? So it's not just, oh, just them, oh, just these people. But for the sake of argument here in America, the mass majority were Christians, and that was the thing. I go, the ideology in that thing right there, and it's the same in the Mormon thing too. Like they have the same ideology of treating women like shit, and they must populate. And they were actually some of the people that abused the Indians as well, right? So they were sent to be taken care of by some Mormon families, and then like they did all this stuff. Like I just feel like once you kind of understand the socio itself, you could literally go through all this and start to actually make sense of the things that they say don't make sense. Like they're just like, oh, it's just hate. I go, well, technically, if you actually go into this, it's dealing with the PD, and then these things are on it. Like I said, it's almost like if you really go into it, it's almost like an addiction to just want to annihilate everyone. It's a crazy thing. Like it needs more in-depth stuff into it, but I'm just starting to go through the history of it, and versus just staring at, oh, they hate people of color, oh, they hate women, oh, they hate this thing. But the women's stem off is actually important to this whole thing, but they're getting abused while that's going on. That's why, it has to be there. Yeah. And she wouldn't do that unless we did it to her. Like, it's not. Like, if you had a healthy upbringing and your parents didn't beat the shit out of you and take food away from you and all that stuff, and you feel like a happy, healthy individual, like, why would you do that? Like, it doesn't come out of nowhere. It's like you wouldn't go and start doing that to your kids randomly. Like, that, because you know how to deal with it in a healthy manner. Like, who is duct taping you as a kid? Like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? Something. Oh, that shit suck. I just remembered that duct tape thing. I don't know why. I don't know. There was a thing about putting it on your mouth, and then, like, one day I tried to do that. Oh my God. I don't, yeah, I did it to myself, huh? Like, I don't remember we were screwing around with duct tape. And because you see it all the time on TV, because they did that to women all the time, so no wonder men does it to women all the time. I don't know. I don't even know. This is some stupid kid shit. Somehow I got duct tape on my mouth, okay? So then I went to go try to rip it off, and it like basically ripped off half the skin of my lips. That was horrible, you guys. It to her son. So I'm just saying, I was just like, I had this bad childhood memory and it was probably self-harm. So no, on accident. It was, I didn't know the tape could do that. I learned it's not a good thing to put on your lips. It's not a good thing to put on your mouth, dude. That's shit. Maybe if you use the dollar store one, it probably wouldn't be that bad. It's like the true duct tape. Okay, wait. 2.3 million followers, these child abusers. Yeah, same people that follow Oprah. Huh? I don't think Oprah promotes child abuse. Oprah's more of the LOA one. Just believe that these wonderful things will happen, and they will happen to you in your life. If you don't believe it, then it's your fault. She's more like that. I don't know. No, hers is follow the secret. Child abuse. She's not for. Oprah's not for child abuse. I mean, if Oprah fails in something about child abuse, it's because she was abused. Like, she's been open about her being abused as a kid, so if she starts doing any bullshit, it would be because there are areas that she hasn't worked on. I don't think Oprah would ever be, this is just my opinion. We could be critical about her on other things, but I mean, I don't believe that she would promote duct taping your kid and make him sleep on a beanbag. I don't know why people follow YouTubers or not. I don't know why anybody follows any human. I don't have this high opinion of humanity generally. So I just know that everybody's faulty, and most of them are more faulty than I ever have been. And there's just days where it's like even people like I like can be a major annoyance. Yeah, as far as like they are ignorant to, like, they don't care about other people's suffering, and the narcissist thing around them is just too much. You know what I mean? Like, it's more like that for some people, and then some are just plain out abusers, and it's like I can't even handle it anymore. It's like I just like the more you like correct yourself, or you get healthy and get away from all the abuse, the more you start to see how abusive everybody is. It's really that thing. And then for some reason they like to come at me like I'm the abuser. I'm like, no, I'm just calling out your shit. Like I mean, I'm very like non-filtered type of person, but the thing is I'm calling out their shit, and they're the majority, so the majority is the bully. And so they go after what they see as weak or something threatening to their livelihood. So I think it's funny. I don't have 2.5 million followers, and they act like I do. Like I can just send out like a million minions to go get them all down, you know? It's just their mindset. They're bullies generally. A lot of them, not every one of them, but you just don't know. You don't know what's going on in my mind when I'm going through stuff, because sometimes it's like they do things to purposely be like, I don't give a shit. Like doing that, and it's like these people are the problem, and I don't want people ruining my day, and they will ruin my day. It just will. It'll upset me. So I have to try to do things to like make sure it's like less abusive from other people. Yeah, so this person says again, so the picture of the ladies above speaks volumes. I can look at their eyes and tell that something is very wrong with them, both of them. Yeah, I mean, that's why I said it. I see it more in the males, but it is possible some people are picking that up in the females too. So yeah, like I said, there is something about their eye. Like they can't, like I said, if you're a genuine person, a genuine human, and you feel certain emotions, you could read that. If you're a visual like me, you could read that on somebody. And if somebody's very cold-hearted or something's like a danger, you could pick that up. Like they can't fake that. Like they could try to cover their face and do all this bullshit, but there's certain indicators with some people, like with the eye thing, like she could be manicky too. Like there could be some other thingy going on. It's something in their brain, like something I don't know. Like I said, it hasn't really. They try to brush it off as like a bunch of different things, and I'm like, no, no, because when you're mad, mostly as kids, when your parents are mad, they don't even have to like say a damn word. They don't even have to move their face. You literally know when your parents are pissed, right? So you're reading the language off their face, and there is an eye thing. Like if you're really pissed, like you could read that, and so yeah, I mean you're probably picking up the same stuff that I'm talking about. Had anybody say that about me? That I have like these evil eyes? Oh my god! I was like, I know. Thankfully I don't have that. Even when I'm mad, they don't even. It must not come across properly. I wish it did. I'm like, let me give you that death stare. I was like, um, no, thankfully, get it. You might want to like. I was like, go into the therapist. Like, what's so wrong with me here? Everybody says I look like I'm gonna murder somebody tomorrow. I mean, I might. Like he's like, I've never had that. I don't know. I think that's a bad way to look at it. So it's amazing and disheartening how some choose to do horrendous acts to the vulnerable in our society. How about to anybody? It's like because it's a sliding scale who they look at as being vulnerable. Because 15, they were sitting there saying they're not vulnerable. They're old enough. They're adults. We can do that shit. So, it's his choice that he slept on a beanbag. I want to know what I want to know. I might think he might have a different issue if he's like, I want to sleep on a beanbag. It's like the very young, the elderly. Dude, there's some hella abusive elderly, okay, Danny? It's like we need to be protected from some of them. I learned that lesson pretty hard. Yeah, there's some major elderly, and the reason probably why, because as we're talking about the silent generation, the baby boomers and all them, you know what I mean? That they were all abusers. So when they became this old crutched thing, they were just abusive. You needed to be saved from President Bush, dude. Like, what the hell? He's like in a wheelchair and he's groping little girls. Okay, so no, it's not one way. Like, yeah, some people do abuse the elderly, but then there's some elderly that are extraordinarily dangerous to younger people. Yeah, and the mentally impaired. Yes, some have been abusers too. Some of the mentally impaired. Some. They are the only ones that those monsters are able to control. Wait a minute. That's not true. And I hope they get what they deserve. Oh, you're saying that you can't have that happen to you, Danny. It's like, I don't know. That's just another way to come up and that's just a weird one. Andrew. The mom looks disturbed. Something bad wrong behind those eyes. I like how these people are picking up the eye thing. I know they just ignore it though. They think it's a fake thing. I go, no, it's a fucking real thing. But we need to get to the bottom of all this. I was like, so for 3 years, the family kept silent for the sake of the children. Yeah, this is stupid. You kept quiet for years for the sake of the children. I don't think I can ever make sense of that. You should be arrested too. I think what they mean, this is what I think what they mean with that comment, was that they kept quiet for the sake of the children online to not be like, what the hell? But I think they should have stood up. Because they don't do it, right? I think they should have stood up, went on their channels and pointed it out and called them out, made a big old scene about it. Because then the mom has to confront it, right? And the kids might hear it. And you're being kind of a hero to the kids, right? And let the kids understand that that is abuse. That's why I talked to that other girl. Like, I was like, because you don't want kids to think it's their fault. And it was something when I had all those abuses as a kid, like, there's no other person talking to you going, oh, it's their fault, not yours. You didn't cause it, blah, blah, blah. That whole thing right there. And so these people don't do that. They're not being the hero. They're not being anything. They're not educating anybody. And they just let it happen. They do this with sexual abuse too, everything else. So, but I think that's what they were meaning from it versus like saying they just didn't say anything for 3 years. They were saying they did something in the background, but they didn't make a scene like publicly. I think that's what they mean. But I think they should have made a scene. Okay, so crazy that these gals were influenced and in the public eye. More people are more capable of trashing the female abusers than the male abusers. You'll also notice that dynamic in the comments. There'll be like a million friggin' comments on like somebody who is like maybe an equal abuser as a male, but less than this guy that's on the run, right? They totally babyfied this guy that's on the run, right? And he completely murdered the family, okay? And you don't see this like mass commenting, like they weren't even talking about him like that. They're all, we love him, we forgive him. blah, 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 blah. And here it's just like, vile, disgusting, rotten pig throws them in jail. Like, it's a whole different dynamic because it's so easy to trash women because that's part of this whole problem to begin with. And yeah, there's a big difference in how people react from men doing these crimes versus women doing these crimes, right? Mm-hmm. Creepy Mormons. Anyone that hurts children like that should get the death penalty. Unless they're cops, right, Ken? Because, my parents over there. Yeah. When they're cops, all of a sudden, we're all liars, Cops are actually big on this type of abuse to their children. Yes. That's such a good thing, though, if you're hearing the daughter, like, praising that they're getting busted for being abusers. Because sometimes you'll see the opposite, like where the kid wants to defend the parents, right? So this is a good thing. So some humanity came out of that. Like this is what interests me is like how come this one come out like that versus these other ones who are like, don't you say a bad thing about my parent, they're perfect, and then they're like total abusers. Kind of like Jermaine Jackson, right? His dad's like a total abuser. And all he did was enable him the whole time in this conversation, like, it's okay, I loved my beatings, blah, 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 blah. Nothing really bad came out of it. And yet he's the worst abuser, too. Jermaine? Yeah, so it was just like, how come that happened? Because when you look at this, at least they can say it at age 20. That's why Latoya got so attacked. She was like the only one that's like, abuse, guys, like major abuse, dude. And everybody in the family's like covering up for it, right? I was like, how come she's the only one that came out sane? They were calling her the most crazy. I go, she's the only sane one in the damn bunch right there. Because she was able to break out of it. That's why I was saying it's at least at the time. Later it looks like she may have like I don't know. But at the earliest point, it was just like this shit is bad. Like so to have that happen, there's some outer like something about it. I don't know. It's interesting. She has that look, so I'm not surprised. It's so sad to see what people do to the children behind the scene, but put them out that friendly face for the camera, and when it comes for making money, they will sacrifice your livelihood without question. Yeah, those are sociopaths. Okay, do harm to self and others, right? So like they don't have any empathy. They're like objects, right? So it's like okay, they're a means to an end. I know, but that's why I said it goes pointless to ask these parents, like mostly of their children, shooting up a school or raping everybody or being a thief or whatever bullshit. They always come out. I was a good parent. I taught them right and wrong, and we didn't do anything wrong. And I was like, no, you did something wrong. Just because you don't know what you did wrong doesn't mean you didn't do anything wrong because your kid shouldn't be doing any of that. So, yeah, that thing there. I was like, don't even bother asking because there's no way in hell that some parents are going to come up in here and go, yeah, we beat the living fuck out of them. I was like, this, they're just not going to do it. They're not going to do it. It's like, sure, when little Bobby wouldn't fucking go to bed at fucking 9, we fucking taped his ass to the bed all fucking night long. Like literally no one's going to go on like that because and they know what they're doing is wrong because they won't admit it. So for you not to admit it, then you're doing something wrong and you're trying to be deceitful. Because if you thought it was totally fine, then you would be talking like Jermaine, right? Because he thinks it's totally fine. Because there's nothing to hide, right? And he's just like, oh yeah, my beatings are all good. You know what I mean? Like I don't see anything wrong with it. Like so he's not even trying to cover it up because he thinks it's totally fine. That's how he's shelving it. But these other people, like if you're asking them, like, did you beat your kid? They literally know they have, but they can go to jail for it. They're just like, no. TikTok are either extreme narcissists or psychopaths. Why is everybody using the word psychopath? You wouldn't be a psychopath being on TikTok doing videos. What I have seen is a bunch of socios. I was like, um, narcissists being bullies. A lot of women. That was the thing that I picked up, was a lot of narcissistic sociopath type of women that want to target other women, which is a horrible thing. And you could tell in the language, like them talking about nobody should be dressing like that, and it's just like, oh god, here we go, 1980s. Yeah, so the language in it. Imagine that. More projection of those pointing fingers at drag queens for abusing their kids. Keep in mind, anybody's capable of abusing their kid, like anyone. I mean, it isn't because someone dresses as, a drag queen, like, that they abuse their kids. They could abuse their kids because somebody abused them as kids and they dress up as drag queens. Like, it's that type of thing. There had been some things that were pulled up where I was like, yeah, that's abuse, but then they don't want to attack it because it's like, they're like, we got to protect LGBTQ. And it's like, well, no, you don't want to protect child abuse. You want to protect LGBTQ being who they are. But the problem isn't that because they're LGBTQ. The problem is that something is looking like child abuse. Like, that's a different thing. So Christians who promote beating their kids and all those things are the biggest promoters of child violence. Like, it's the craziest thing. So it's sort of a projection thing. Like, they want to, like, throw. And see, I talk about the socio. This is such a trait of a socio, is taking what they do as bad and flipping it and throwing it else, typically on a victim, right? They'll flip it and throw it on something else, right? To not take responsibility for the crap that they do, right? Such as the pedo thing. I was like, it's an obvious thing who started doing that, at least for the longest majority in history here of who was doing that. And yet they will not confront it on themselves. Like, that's the thing. Like, who was hiding it? It was the Christians. Who was promoting it? The Christian men, because they're male supremacists. It was the Christian men. I mean, when you start getting down to it, it was the Christian men. Yeah, they wanted to rape everything. The entire Franke family failed their siblings by not reporting abuses earlier. What kind of person would ever duct tape a child's extremities is one who belongs behind bars for a very long time to come. Imagine what other abuses this child and others have suffered by these women. Yeah, I said they play well together. Like, it's not just even one person, right? There's the other lady and the husband thing. I don't understand it. Oh my god, is this person an idiot? Oh my god, this is the funniest thing. You guys think I'm bad with words? I'm not this bad. They're like, doesn't anyone proofread these articles? Emaciated isn't a word. I'm pretty sure they meant emancipated. What? That's totally different. To make. They're like, to make abnormally lean or thin by gradually wasting away of flesh. Emaciated, definitely a word. It means that, okay. English must not be your first language. Emancipated means liberated. That is so funny. How did that happen? I believe you're making the same mistake as the author. You almost certainly mean emancipated. Oh my god, they came back to fight with them to say that emaciated is a word, and they're like, I believe you're making the same mistake as the author. You must certainly mean emacipated. Are they trying to gaslight? This is the craziest argument I've ever seen in my life. Does anyone proofread these articles? Emaciated isn't a word. I'm pretty sure they mean emancipated. To make them, yeah, like they're right. Emaciated is definitely a word. It means thin or weak due to lack of food. English must not be your first language. Emancipated means liberated. Well, emancipated means being kind of like a legal adult as a kid. And then that same person that put doesn't anyone proofread goes, I believe you're making the same mistake as the author. You almost certainly mean emancipated. Oh my god. Maybe that's like a psychotic killer. Like, what is that? I would be scared of that person. That person doesn't make any sense. That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life. By the time puts a crack pipe down. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. I do, and I'm totally wrong, and I'm gonna fight you. I was like, okay, okay. It's time for federal government to take more active roles in the lives of children and keeping them away from unqualified parents. They wait. They already do. No, they don't. They are federally laws against CA and child neglect for a reason. In fact, the federal government often oversteps in this regard. That's not true. Just because something's a law doesn't mean they actually do anything. Okay, so all the kids have been abused. So can you tell me what they did? I was like, can you tell me what they did? You're here. You're still here. Were your parents taken away? No. Okay. Women, mothers of MAGA. Don't make it political. Don't make it political, because child abuse is not a political thing. Her family members remain quiet about the abuse of the juveniles to protect the juveniles. Really, that just doesn't make sense. Social media is a cesspool. How did this woman attract so many followers for so long that actually agreed with her neglectful and abusive parent? All of America. Your parents, Caroline, I'm sure. I probably knew from freaking the 80s. I don't know about the duct tape thing, but the food thing, yes, and some other things, yes. Oh my god, these comments. How many more? Dude. Trump stands for the real undisputed MAGA President Trump 24. Okay, where was the father? I know, really. So that's what I want to know. Okay, so of course, every woman's line of defense. Anyways, blame a man for everything is never a woman's fault. Well, actually, women were abused by men first, so yes. Um, I'm actually, and that's a Trump 2024. Yeah, that guy. The guy that's promoting the rapist. It's like the rapist where all his followers are going to prison. Okay. And so then they go, of course these women must be held accountable. Where's my comment? Did I say it was the father's fault? But you're probably the same, those deadbeat types who think men have no responsibility for their children. At the very least, the father should have stepped up to the plate to protect his children, and the mother should have spent the rest of her life in prison. Yeah, I have questions about the dad. Yeah. Women have to be held accountable when men, like when they rape and kill their kids, right? So the woman goes to jail for, what's it called? Like, they're kind of like an accessory in it. Like, they didn't, I forgot the terminology. There's a legal thing. There was a child neglect thing. Like, they put their kids in, danger's way, something, something, something. Yeah. That's why I'm confused. I'm like, were they together and separated and some other bullshit? Like, I don't get it. In the same home, then he has to go to jail with them. Because they're like, enabling and allowing and that whole thing. But maybe he's not in the home now or something. I don't freaking know. So I'm trying to find out. No one's answering it. That's what I'm saying. They want to target the women. I'm sitting there going, what's the deal with that? Because you don't get to slide out. Because before the Dark Ages, 23, they're shown they cannot be better or do better. From schools to churches to government and politics and everything in between, they have demonstrated there are self-serving and evil to the bone. We must separate from them and leave them to each other. Darwin will sort them out. I'm assuming they're just meaning Christians generally, because it couldn't be Mormons, because they're not like a mass majority. So, I mean, I would agree if you're talking about what I'm talking about, from schools to churches, governments, politics, and everything in between. They have demonstrated they are self-serving evil to the bone. Yeah, we must separate from them and leave them to each other. Darwin will sort them out. Well, we can't because they will come after it. You know what I mean? Like they'll start doing a Hitler thing. They'll start doing. That's why I'm saying we gotta tackle it. You have to tackle it at this level right here, where she's getting arrested, right, and the kids are getting rescued out of it. That's a way to prevent mass shootings. That's a way to prevent rapists. That's a way to prevent these groups that are going out, targeting the Jews or targeting people of color. This is all that. And you want to target it right here. Not when they're freaking 20. I mean, not when they're like, Yeah, ask Corey Feldman about that special diet he put women on. Because his mom, I guess, did that to him or something. But that's still abuse, you know what I mean? YouTube is a powerful platform. The problem is the platform is used not just for thoughtful expression, creativity, education, information, etc., for corruption, hate, conspiracy nonsense. I wonder how much YouTube paid her for video content. For corruption, hate, conspiracy nonsense. The conspiracy nonsense is like nothing compared to the actual ideology of male supremacy, which is actually the platform. You might say that about me, right? Name. You have no name. I was like, I consider myself education, information, expression, and creativity. Sociopaths will view me as hate, nonsense, extremist. I could give you a list of things that sociopaths would view us as. The sociopath brain is different than ours, so your problem, right? So what's the baseline that you would go off of for that? They have considered me that, even though I'm sitting there targeting that I'm not for cops just randomly killing someone. So when I was on Twitter, for some reason I got targeted for that, while the mass majority was promoting to shoot the guy. And it was totally fine. And I'm like, well, that's hypocrisy, because your site here says that you're not supposed to be promoting hate speech or violence or those things. So I don't know why you would be okaying that conduct and then come at me for saying that something about them doing that was bad. That's what it was. And then for some reason, it was nonsensical. I was like, huh? Yeah, so that's what happened there. That's Jack's Twitter. It wasn't even when that whole thing happened. No. It was really bizarre because they showed me which one it was. So I screenshotted it and I'm like, that doesn't make any sense at all. So yeah, they were doing that shit. So, And they were showing me that these white supremacists were coming at me. And for some reason, they halted one of them. And I was just like, what? I don't even understand. So why would you okay the rest of them, though? White supremacist males are going to have a major problem with me. Yeah, absolutely. I kind of expected, so. These women obviously failed their sisters and children. They kind of... okay. Did everything you could. I'm blaming the law enforcement in them, because once they got told, they didn't do anything. Because even the kids saying that, those people told on them. I think goes beyond forgetting a school lunch. Something else was happening. If a little kid is sitting there in the cafeteria and not eating a lunch, the school would provide it and bill the home for the cost. I forgot my lunch money a couple times when I was that age in the early 80s, and I would get lunch and pay the school back the next day. Granted, the lunch was 50 cents back then. Oh my God, you know what I would do? I was like in the 80s, and it was in the 80s, wasn't it? It was, Yeah, so what I would do is I would eat breakfast at home, and then I would go in, and I don't know if I got free lunch or if I paid for. I probably paid for. I probably took some change. Took them quarters. No, I don't know what I did. No, I probably did. I think they might have gave me lunch money, right? And so then I would get a little bit more or something. Then I would go in and then I'd have breakfast again. So I'd have like two breakfasts with everybody. I was like, and then, and then, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if I paid for it if they, or I just told them I didn't eat that day and I ate. I think I paid for it though. I think I was telling them I needed more change. Like there was something to it. Anyway, I was eating two lunches. So I mean two breakfasts. I had breakfast at home and then I go to school because my some of my friends ate the breakfast there, and I liked their breakfast actually at school, and so then I'd eat the breakfast there. I was not starving. I never had that. It makes me feel like an asshole now as a kid. I mean, as an adult, because I'm like, if any kid up in there was starving, I would have totally gave him some food. I never seen that, and it could have happened. And no, today they're so stingy, right? They'll just call you lazy, poor, broke people, and we're not giving you anything for free. I don't know what was going on there. There were kids that like their parents didn't give them lunch. I think more towards when did I experience maybe in junior high school? I don't know. I questioned my friend though, cuz what the hell? Okay, so in the morning in the 80s like we would go to school, right? So here's another different thing cuz when I had the two breakfast things that was like in oh my god. That was like in elementary at some point. I didn't do that later. Later we had a snack time that we can go buy at this one thing. And my friend would come to school, and I swear to God, she didn't eat breakfast or something because she would eat candy. That was it. Like, she would go and buy candy. So, because she bought candy, I went and bought candy. So, I'd have breakfast and then go buy candy now. This is a different thing that we were doing. And yeah, so I don't know. You know, I didn't even question that. I don't know if it's a thing like, I don't know why her mom wouldn't give her breakfast. Like, if it's a thing she just chose not to eat breakfast or. I didn't even think about that. I just remember that we went to go get candy in the morning because I think that was her breakfast. I mean, she had money to get that, but that's not a good breakfast. I'm like, that's not a good breakfast. I don't know, you know? Maybe something weird there. I don't know. But she wasn't I mean, she wasn't starving. It wasn't like she, yeah. But yeah, there were some kids that didn't have it, but I don't know if it's a choice thing or if their parents and I don't know. My mom cheerfully brought our lunch if we forgot. Peanut butter and jelly and fruit and milk. Wholesome food. Boring as heck. That's how you teach a 6-year-old to be responsible for packing their lunch. We did, and 6 kids and 6 husbands and a sick husband. Mama had no time to play. We ate what was at dinner or went hungry. See, that's not good. So there it is right there. Wait, let me see something. Come on. Or went hungry till the meal or offered boring snack like yogurt before bed. Okay, so there's the child abuse right there, and she's not seeing it as that. We ate what was at dinner or went hungry. See, like, what if, like, there's, like, that's the thing. So we got abused by the food thing. So they would do that. But they're kind of making it sound okay. It says that is strict parenting. At no time were we without access to food or love or material necessities. Hopefully these women will go to prison facility where a bologna sandwich is hot cuisine. We ate what was at dinner or went hungry. Yeah, that's how my child abuse started. Like that shit right there, Jen. hungry till the meal. Hungry till the meal? Or offered a boring snack like yogurt before bed. When a kid gets hungry, they're supposed to get something. They could get fruit. They could get... Our parents, though, they made a lot of desserts. So, like, after dinner, there was, like, Pizzelli's. There was, like, Pizzelli City. Um, Snacks, yeah. Candy was a snack. Nuts, fruit. Swanson's ice cream was one of the snacks. Sandwiches. Oh, that was a big one. Juicy pop, those like stick pop things. Tons of those. Okay, so anyway, oh, here we go. We got a male supremacist. Want to know what a male supremacist comment sounds like? This one right here. Today's kids are being raised to be soft, whiny crybabies who will never grow into accountable adults. They need to be disciplined, but this may have been a bit extreme. Okay, I'm going to put this underneath your male sub socio. I don't think they're removing my comments like that, because it's like, that's just what they are, but it's like, I'm just letting people know. Oh my God, that's crazy. Yeah, so that you could tell who they are. He's gonna abuse the kids, okay? Let's read it again. So if you go through comment sections and you see this is somebody that is capable of... Doesn't he sound like the guy that's on the run? Totally. Today's kids are being raised to be soft, whiny. Okay, what does soft and whiny mean? They're actually identifying, they're trying to compare that to being women, right? Crybabies. Actually, men are the crybabies, because actually the PD almost makes them stay as like a little boy, where they have a little baby fit, right? Like they're having a child temper tantrum. Like they're like, wah! And then they go blow up a house, right? Like it's almost like the baby child man. And then they talked about how they don't develop as quickly as girls. No, they just stay as a child, right? Because they have a PD. But anyway, yeah, that's what they're saying. It's a little projection there. And this says, who will never grow in accountable adults. Well, that's great, because men never been accountable for rape, right? So, I mean, you know, like this is the same, like the personality trait is the same as the guy that's on the run. I'm just saying, because that's why he rejected his son, right? So that's male supremacy. That's what that reads as and looks like if you don't know already. They need to be disciplined. Yeah, so here we go with the abuse factor, right? So he's promoting harming kids, okay? They need to be disciplined, like we're in the military, and then we need to sociofy them, right? Soft, whiny crybabies. So they need to have no emotions, right? So developing empathy is bad, right? So that's in this little paragraph right here. So you could literally pick them out all day long. Then they go, but, like, it's almost like a but. Like, you have to think about it. Like, maybe it's not that bad. Like, you know what I mean? He's trying to do that. He's actually probably self-reflecting, going, I might do that. I don't really, like that's the type of thing. He's like, but this may, he puts the word may, have been a bit extreme, but it's not too extreme, because I might do that. They need some hard discipline. They need their asses beat. Anthony's scary as hell, okay? Maybe that's the missing Robert Fisher. You know what I mean? Like, dead serious. But that's what that reads like. That's what that looks like. And so you know what that is right there. He's the one that will raise a child shooter. Okay. So we're going to move on from that one. Like, that was crazy. I always feel terrible for kids that have awful mothers growing up. Oh, not dads, huh? Because all you need is an amazing mom and your life improves tenfold. Are you kidding? There's no substitute, honestly, for a great mother. That's just weird, Richard. Are you in love with your mom? Is this Kevin Spacey? You could have a really... Unfortunately, we don't know too many good men. So, like, maybe if your father was a really good living father, That would happen too, but you don't exist. So, okay, so I was like, we're gonna go down here. People need to stop paying attention to these influencers who lack knowledge of the stuff they spew. Funny how big it's like to talk about black parents. You know what that is? It's just a projection to blow it off of themselves. Like really, like at the end of the day, and they're just abusers, and so they want to go there. Takes the attention off them. They abuse people of color, so they're beating them up, so and killing them. So yeah, of course they're gonna flip it on their victim. That's a sociopath thing to do, right? They're easy to find. They're all over this comment section. Even people that are trying to pretend like they care about these kids. It's amazing. This may be a little too far, but these kids need to have their ass beat and be disciplined. She looks a little anorexic. Maybe she was thinking her children were fat. Most mothers who would do without food or so their kids could eat. My mother was like literally probably anorexic, but the odd thing is she would like massively cook. It is like there was some like strange neurotic thing maybe to that where she'd make all these like desserts and like all those like crazy ass shit, and I would go in there and cook with her. Then I would eat like all the like, you know, cookie dough and all the pudding and the fucking yeah, like massive dessert stuff, like fucking fudge, dude. We had like just insane amount of stuff that your parents may not have let you do. I don't know, but this is the shit. Like that was the shit back in the day. And cakes, fucking cupcakes, brownies, massive brownies. Oh my god, you got to keep brownies away from me. Those really gooey brownies. And then like yes, like big time. And so it's like, well, someone's going to eat it, so that will be me. And I was like, and so, yeah, it's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, but she actually, my mom's not the one that did the food thing. She allowed the food thing though, but she's not the one that made that so that I couldn't eat and that. It was actually my dad. And I think that those people, I don't know how her eating thing came about, but then the guy that she was with later was also that way. So he starved me and then she allowed it and then she was being anorexic there. So I don't know. It was like she allowed it, but she didn't, I don't recall any time that she might have tried to cut my food back. I remember some weird stuff, but I don't, she wasn't the main component to that other thing. Because your religion says to abuse kids doesn't mean that you're not a child abuser and you should be allowed to do it. So that's the end. Your kids are shooting up the place and they're raping everybody. They're killing people. So, and they have massively they're being mentally ill. So they're getting mentally ill because the parents. It's not just a mom thing, okay? Like I'm trying to actually do a fair assessment and showing here's a female version of one, here's a male version, and they differ quite a bit, right? Like the different types, right? Types. Like they're not all like mass killing their family, but this has a potential to have deaths occur, right? So they're not really above it. That's why I say it's kind of a weird thing because it's like what they're doing, they'll allow a systematic abuse where people die. Yeah, that's a socio, big time. And then the other guy actually enjoys killing. So yeah, that's some of the things. Okay.
Kevin and I have decided that this year they are not going to be visited by Santa. We're going to give them the gift of repentance.
No.
More information has come out in regards to Ruby from the family.
Do you guys know that happened to me? With the abusive guy that my mom married, the one that killed my pet, and starved me. Okay, so they did the same shit. Okay, so during Christmas time, this is actually what got me taken away, okay? So during Christmas time, he's like, we're not really gonna celebrate, like, this thing about Christmas, you're not getting a bunch of presents. We'll go, oh my god, I remember what I picked out, it was funny as hell. No, just because I've done stories on these people, too, so they go, I'll take you to a record store and you can pick out about 5 records and that's all you're going to get. So I had to pre-pick my gifts for Christmas, you guys. Have you ever heard of that? Like, so I know what I'm getting and that's all I'm going to get. And it's not even a surprise, right? It was like this thing. I'm like, what the fuck? Because every year I'm used to getting, this is what I'm used to getting. I'm used to getting like a shitload of gifts. And I'm used to getting cards with cash and fucking, I know people are going to get all up on that because some kids are not that privileged, right? I'm just talking about my privilege. We're not hiding it. We're not doing any of that. But it's fucked up when that's what you normal, like your normal thing, right? And then all of a sudden, this is how rich people or mid-class people go and abuse their kids, right? So I'm talking about what you would normally get, right? So even if you're a poor kid and you normally, this is how your family does a thing. So then they go and do something abusive. It's more on the emotional level than it is on the physical and gift level thing. So, okay, normally every year it's like I get a ton of shit. Like I'll get like all year long I'll go, oh, I want, Barbie something, blah, whatever bullshit. And I also want a skateboard and I fucking want an electric guitar and I want blah, 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 right? So if I don't get it through the year, I'm almost certain I will get it for Christmas, right? I was like, that's just how it was. I'm just telling you how my family was. So, but it was no big deal, right? So if I didn't get it, I'll probably be all upset about, and then I'll try again next year. I was like, then I'll try again next year. So then what would happen is, so here, okay, so in this case, so then he takes me to the store and I pick out like 5 records, right? And I remember at least 3 of them. I don't know what the other 2 were. And then one was a David Lee Roth record. That's why I was laughing at it. I was like, wait, I got that Crazy from the Heat record. Anyway, he actually let me get that, surprisingly. And then it was Cyndi Lauper, that True Colors one thing, and then probably Madonna. I don't remember what I got. Okay, wait, it was 80s. You know what? I was like, wait. It probably was Madonna. Like, honest to God, it probably was Madonna. Wait, it would be a 80. In fact, I actually did a drawing. I might have actually done a drawing of her in school or something. I know I did Marilyn Monroe, but I think I did this something. Is that like I don't know. I got some bullshit. Okay, it was Madonna. I'm pretty sure it was like Madonna. It was like Cyndi Lauper, and then David Lee Roth. I like David Lee Roth. And I think there was 1 or 2 others, but I have zero idea who they are. So they were forgotten. I was like, they were forgotten. Okay, so then the other thing I wanted was a skateboard, right? That was it. Like, literally, that's all I asked for. That and an electric guitar, yeah. So I wanted an electric guitar, a skateboard, and some albums. That's what I wanted. Do you think I was that greedy? I don't think I was. Like I just said that, right? They said, no, you're not getting a skateboard. Like, why wouldn't you get me a skateboard? I, honest to God, did not get, why I can't get a skateboard. And then he's like, okay, so that was it, right? And nothing else. So then my dad gets like, the shit that I want to get, right? So from far away, right? Because we were in San Jose and he's up in Woodland. And so then my dad goes and he tells them, okay, I got her an electric guitar, right? Don't tell her that I got her an electric guitar, okay? So then, yeah, so he was gonna go get it because this asshole wouldn't. So then this son of a bitch pulls me aside before Christmas, right? He goes, I'm gonna tell you something. Your father bought you an electric guitar, but I'm telling him to take it back. Oh my God, this is what got me taken away, you guys. This made my dad so fucking pissed. This is when my dad's like trying to protect me. I don't know what happened from this point onward, but this point right here, he lost it because he's like, what the fuck is wrong with this guy? You know what I mean? He actually should have got him thrown in jail right here. But that was part of the abuse. Do you think that's not insane? Like, he purposely outed the gift and then said, like, to be like, I know it's something you really want. and I'm going to make sure that you're not going to get it because that's not going to be allowed here. Only my son here can have a drum set. It was insane. He had a drum set that was so fucking annoying because it's by our bedroom. And the electric guitar you could plug into an amp and put a headphone thing on and not even hear all that shit. And so, yeah, he said only my son could do all this shit, but you can't do anything. You cannot have a skateboard. You can't have an electric guitar and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so then my dad comes in, removes me from the home. They starve me, like, all the way down. Nobody even questioned, like, why I'm, like, you know, really thin. And where's my pet? Hello. They murdered it. And then the guy doesn't even go to jail. Like, the whole, like, thing is insane. So they're supposed to tell the courts and everything, the change of custody, and I'm not allowed to go over there because they're abusers and, you know, this whole thing. But somehow they didn't. They ripped me out of the school there. I don't know how this happened, you guys, because you have to change schools. So I don't understand. I don't know what happened here. So then, what pissed me off is the guitar that I did finally get, I think is one of the guitar. Yeah, it's like the guitar that got stolen when I came out here. So it was like special, you know what I mean? Because it was one of the ones he was trying to take away from me. Then I got another guitar and they stole that too. I had two guitars, I think an acoustic. And then that son of those people that ring stole all of that. And yeah. So it wasn't even, it was only like how many years later from that? 87, 89, 90, 91. 5 years later. Yeah, 5 years later they stole all that stuff. So no, it wasn't cheap stuff either, but yeah. So here she's doing that abuse. I can't. Oh, so evil. No, for kids that's fucked up. Like the Christmas thing is fucked up because even though if you don't go by Santa or any of that bullshit, like I knew there was no Santa, but I mean just the
And my kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done. If I
torturing him, stop
and she's
it.
laughing.
I know you're not, but it looks like you are. Okay, Russell. I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
No. In this home, you don't get personal space because this is my space because I'm the parent.
You don't get personal
If you
space.
want your own personal space, you'll need to get your own space. This is mine. And as long as you're living in my home, it is my job to know everything about you. You don't get to sneak. You don't get to hide. You don't get to have secrets.
Oh my
Not
God.
in my house. Do you see how loving that is? Now, if you're in distortion, you're reeling right now. If you're in distortion, you're ready to pull your hair out right now. You're ready to. I'm scared to share this. Kevin and I have decided that this year they are not going to be visited by Santa. We're going to give them the gift of repentance.
More information has.
This year they are not going to be
Like if they were
visited by
like
Santa.
overly privileged
We're going to
kids.
give them the gift of repentance.
Like if they're overly privileged kids, like I would have the normal Christmas, right? Then I'd be like, we're gonna go out and do something with the less fortunate. Something, you know what I mean? To teach them like something like that. This woman's insane, dude. She's like, you get no secrets. It's like, I fuck her. This is why their kids go out and do drugs and they start losing all their shit, right? They're like, it's micromanaged. Like I couldn't even, no, my parents are not even like that, okay? Like I fucked out. I wouldn't even care if they were talking to me like that. I would ignore it. Like I would just tune them out. Like that's how I would treat it. Like I would, because they're, you know, being abusive, and it's like I'm not listening to that. Like what the fuck? Like no one's gonna be like that. So if you think of a woman in a wrong way, you can't have any secrets. What'd you do at 2:00 in the morning, son? Like you know what I mean? Like what the hell? Like this is that woman. That one. I gotta hear her say that again. That's a crazy shit.
Child was taken to the hospital for treatment. After the first child was taken to the hospital, another child was discovered in the home and was found to be malnourished as well, officers reported.
And my kids are literally starving. I hesitate to say this because it's going to sound like I'm like a mean barbarian, but I told the kids, I said, I'm not even going to let you eat breakfast until you get your chores done. If I
Torturing him. Stop it. I know you're not, but it looks like you are. Okay, Russell. I'm only going to say it one more time, and then you're going to lose the privilege to eat dinner.
No. In this home, you don't get personal space because this is my space because I'm the parent. If you want your own personal space, you'll need to get your own space. This is mine. And as long as you're living in my home, it is my job to know everything about you. You don't get to sneak. You don't get to hide. You don't get to have secrets.
She got that dark eye thing going on. That's
Do
crazy.
you see how loving that is?
It's like a change of actually, she has a change of personality here. Did you guys notice? That was weird. At the beginning, she's kind of a little bit more, but she sounds kind of psychotic. She's like, hey, they're gonna starve. And then, but there, she's like, it's like, what the fuck? When you're in my home. And this is what got them to throw their kids on the street. This is what I'm saying. It was that. Because then, let's say they said, no, we're not gonna comply in your house. And then they're like minors and shit. And they're like, then it's time for you to go. And they would just toss them in the street. And nobody got arrested for this. It was so common. Mostly in her time. Millennial Generation X. Yes. Because those are the 1980s parents, right? Because she's 82. So she had the 1980s parents that were atrocious, okay? And they didn't use the word rape. They didn't do anything, okay? I'm trying to pull it up to let you guys get some sense of this. Because it's not like you're dealing with something that just occurred with her in 2023. What you're dealing with is some parent from 1982. Really. In reality, because it's a parent on her, you know, the parent on her from 1982. Oh my God. A nightmare. It's the Pat Robertson parent. I don't know who the hell is teaching in the fucking Mormon community, but holy crap. In my home, I was like, oh my God, I would give her so much hell. Like, she's lucky she's not my parent. Because that shit right there, I would be like, yeah, no, we have no respect for that. So, yeah, no, I would have fought against it. Like, that's just me. Because I know it's wrong, like, the way she's being. And I would just wait till she went to bed. And I would just have to take and raid the refrigerator. You know what I mean? That's just it. And the kids probably did all kinds of shit, though. Because you can't go by
Own
this.
personal space. You'll need to get
like
your
that.
own space. This is mine. And as long as you're living in my home, it's
Actually, she sounds like the American government.
to know everything about you. You don't get to sneak. You don't get to hide. You don't get to have secrets. Not in my house. Do you see how loving that is?
Yeah, that's the American government. She's perfect. If you just said American government, like, that's them. I was like, you get no secrets. You're in our house. You're in our country. We know everywhere you're at. Yeah, that's about the level. Yeah. Oh my God. Eating isn't a privilege. I hope those kids are able to find good guardians to help them heal. Why isn't anybody talking about how normal that was? Your parents didn't do that? I'm like, your parents didn't do that? You're not going to eat until you finish those dishes. You're not going to eat until you're done vacuuming the carpet. You're not going to fucking eat unless you eat the shit I fucking put on the table. Wait, what about the children's fathers? This is terrifying. Piece of shit. Yeah, the father probably was like, these are great rules. This is like a nice military home. I was raised this way and it is hugely harmful. Yes, thank you. There's a lot of people. That was actually normal Christian parenting. Like, beyond Mormon. It was just normal Christian parenting. How can you do that to your own children? I'll never understand. I don't know. Ask my parents. They were cops. Wow, that mother is a narcissist. They use this term wrong. She's beyond a narcissist. A narcissist, like, the narcissist part is like her going, like her taping herself and like, look at me, and you know, everything's about me and everything's this. But then, okay, she's also an abuser, right? So she will like starve her kids to death till they die. That's beyond a narcissist, okay? went down this rabbit hole. This woman was giving parenting advice. That's terrifying. Yeah, with 2.5 million followers. She's the average parent. You guys don't, I mean, it's funny. I think only like some of the sane, see, they're like, what a sicko narcissist. It's not just a narcissist, you guys. I don't know where that's coming from. I think just because they keep calling all YouTubers and people narcissists, but this is beyond a narcissist, okay, guys? And we need to stop minimizing it to just narcissism. I was like, narcissism is a trait of a sociopath. And it's part of that umbrella thing. She's that way because she obviously got abused from the 1980s parents of the Pat Robertsons and whoever in the fucking Mormon community. No, you know what? In the Mormon community, they were the ones that were, this is actually the time coming up. Okay, so when was it? In the, way later. Like in the early 2000s. Okay, so they had all those like cults, the Mormon cult people, and they were like raping all the women in it, and the women wouldn't leave, right? Because they're groomed and everything, and government was like, that's part of their religion, and so we should just leave them there because the women want to stay. And it's like they totally didn't even identify grooming, and that's abuse just generally. And they wouldn't take the women out. Like there was a whole thing, if you guys remember any of that stuff, there was like all these cases of that. And so like they all of them were doing stuff like that. They were all fine. That's crazy. No, the whole thing's really bad. And I was just laughing because they all got mad at this teacher that said, your parents are stupid. And I go, oh my God, this teacher deserves an award. And I think they got her fired or something. But I was like, no, she needs to be there in Utah. Like, she needs to be there in Utah. I was like, she needs to be there because she's telling y'all the truth. I was like, oh my God, that teacher is hilarious. Your parents are stupid. That's brave. But I would do that. I'm not as a teacher. I probably would have been. I would probably think I would lose my job saying that as much as I want to say that in front of all the kids. Your parents are stupid. I was like, you couldn't get more brutally honest and to the point. Your parents are stupid, kids. You need to understand. You're smarter than your parents. She did start explaining that. She's like, you're smarter than your parents. And don't you want that to happen anyways, right? Like, I want these kids to be smarter than us. Like, because holy crap. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even offensive. It's just like, good. I hope they are because the world's going to go to shit if they're not. But it was funny. The kids were like laughing, like some of them. Because you know that they probably agreed with it. And then there was the other ones that were like offended or something. But like, no, there were some that were laughing at it because they're like, we're smarter than our dumbass parents. Like, no, the parents were outraged. That shit was funny. All the Mormon parents are like, this is outrageous that a teacher would ever tell kids this crap. I was like, no, we need to keep those teachers. That's a good teacher right there. It's not even offensive. Like, if they told my kids that, I would laugh. I go, yeah, sometimes I am. You're probably going to be teaching me something. Jesus Christ. You know what I mean? Like, that's about where I would have taken it. Unless they were going on a liberal thing, which they weren't. They were just kind of talking about the ignorance of their crap. And it really was on point. I was like, it was on fucking point.
More than my child. Yikes. That's a really, and that is the truth.
That is the truth.
I love principles more than my child. Yikes. That's a really, and that is the truth.
That is the truth.
I love principles.
I don't fucking know. Shit's fucking crazy. So here's another one. Wait, don't live with Ruby. That's this
if
one.
you choose not to be honest, responsible, and humble, and if you choose not to, abide by the expectations of this household, then you are in effect saying, I don't
Look,
want
she looks
to
like
be
she has
part
those
of
black
this
eyes
household.
again. It's like, oh,
And
I
that
can't
would be
deal with
your
it.
choice. And you are welcome to leave. And if you choose not to be honest, responsible, and humble, and if you choose not to...
Listen how she talks, okay? Like, you guys know my problems, right? I'm just saying. You guys know, like, I'm deep in thought. I'm trying to think of words. But she talks weird. Just like watch.
Welcome to leave. And if you choose not to be honest, responsible, and humble, and if you choose not to, abide by the expectations of this household, then you are in effect saying, I don't want to be part of this household. And that would be your choice. And you are welcome to leave.
You're telling children to leave. See, I told you they threw their kids out. They threw their kids out on the street. They're basically saying that here. Oh my God.
The expectations of this household, then you are in effect saying, I don't want to be part of this household. And that would be your choice. And you are welcome to leave. And if you choose not to be honest, responsible, and humble, and if you choose not to, abide by the expectations of this household, then you are in effect saying, I don't want to be part of this household. And that would be your choice. And you are welcome to leave.
Are they telling 5-year-olds?
If you choose not to be honest, responsible, and humble, and if you choose not to, abide by the expectations of
okay,
this
so what it says on the
you
top is Kevin, Chad don't live with Ruby. Were they adults?
You are welcome to leave. And if you choose not to be honest, responsible, and humble, and if you...
She was every freaking parent from the 80s, you guys. Like, literally every parent. That's why there were so many kids on the street. And they were getting human trafficked and raped and all sorts of shit. And they didn't report their kids missing to law enforcement because they didn't want them. They told them to get out of the house because they did the same thing right here. This is what I've been explaining the whole time. And why it's such a horrific nightmare going back to this. Because at the time, it was like normalized to do this shit. And so when I'm going down these streets, like there's all these kids like thrown out because they're like, you're gay. You need to get the hell out. Like this thing right here. If you don't do this and if you don't conform and this gay thing is evil, this, whatever it is, right? That's just one example of one of the reasons why that group of people were out there, right? And so they told them, get the hell out. You could leave. Like they would do that. But then they would also just throw them out. And then, or like our parents just hand us off to pedos. You know what I mean? Like this thing, because they're angry because you're not conforming to their ideology. Whatever it is, right? The ideology. And this is very male supremacist, by the way. Even though it's a woman going on like this, because this was her indoctrination as a kid through her parents, right? So it's very military type, right? It's very fundamentalist and it's very like authoritarian, right? And then they become authoritarians, right? And it's funny that they scream authoritarian when you hear this, right? Because they're the actual authoritarian. And then that's how you get a Hitler, right? Because then he became an authoritarian, right? Like everything gotta be, you're seeing where it's coming from. And it could be towards anybody, any group of people. But this is what they kind of instilled in those kids. But the wonderful thing right now, this is kind of the positive thing in this, is that kids are learning what abuse is. And there's more people being like, oh my God, we actually got to get on top of this, because holy shit, what's with this school shooting shit? You know what I mean? Like there's some things that are coming out of it that the more you let it go, it can get bad. It can get worse. Because this is what they were doing. This was what was normal. There are kids that were born in the 90s that may not even know that this was normal. But I'm sure a lot of them got some of this too. But there could be some born in 2000 and they're just hearing this. And it's like, yeah, this was totally everyday parent right here. And they just would throw their kids out on the street and the cops were watching it and watching them get raped and shit. And they're like, those are bad kids, yeah, like this mindset right here. This is Mormon, Christian, this could be probably Muslim. This could be any of those parents. Like they were going on like this. It was damn crazy. But it is male supremacy, by the way. That's what that is. And they're sociopaths. They're crazy. Because she got abused. That's the shit coming out. She I don't know. I'm not even going to speak for her. She's something wrong with her. But yeah, no, you guys were right. So it's crazy. Oh my god, this shit's crazy. But she's every parent. She's every parent that my dad said stuff like that too, I think. He's like, this is my house. And I'm not having this in my house. Like, I don't know. Like, there's nothing going on. It's gotta be my way. And if you're like 12 years old and you don't want to put up with it, well, we're gonna kick you out. And then the government doesn't go arrest these parents, right? They're starting to arrest them now, but they did not arrest those parents for doing this right here. She would have kicked out her 5-year-old. You're a little devil. You don't want to,